The June of 2011 was an extremely perilous time for the world of cricket. Two giants were about to clash. Two mountains that had long since been pulling in opposite directions had finally run out of rope. And now there was to be war. The battle for the DRS to be waged between the BCCI and the ICC. However, what both the parties had not realized yet was that soon one variable was going to become the deciding factor in this brawl. One variable that either of them had no control over. One variable that began with the wrong replay in an India-West Indies test match. And so begins our story from 23rd June 2011 after the first India-West Indies test match. A match that had been fought tooth and nail till finally India had come out on top. But that wasn't the main focus in the post-match conference. Everybody instead was more interested in the spat between Captain Dhoni and umpire Daryl Harper. Throughout this match, the Indian team had been visibly agitated over the umpire's decisions. A senior player would actually come and tell the media at a point, "We don't want him." And you can quote this as the reaction of the entire Indian team. And then, as if putting oil in the fire, umpire Daryl would ban the debutant Praveen Kumar from the rest of the match, causing an agitated Dhoni to argue with him right there in the middle of the match. And hence, he would then go on to say in the post-match conference,
I can only say if the correct decisions were made, the game would have finished much earlier and would have been in the hotel by now.
Now by itself, this wasn't that a big a deal. Players being discontent with umpires isn't a rare occurrence by any measure of the yardstick. And even somebody speaking out like this would at most get their fees docked. Hence, it was a complete shock when it was announced that umpire Harper had refused to officiate in the remaining two tests, choosing to take his retirement early. As you can guess, the furore that followed this declaration was a sight to see, leading many to speculate how ICC would respond to this entire fiasco. But then in another shock, they refused to say a word. Such was the silence from the ICC that umpire Harper would actually place the blame for his retirement on them, on their failure to take action against Dhoni, on their failure to support him. But what the umpire was seeing as a personal insult, most of the media and cricketing boards around the world knew exactly what was happening. The ICC had refused to say anything because they couldn't afford to. After all of their attention was focused on fighting the bigger war, a war for DRS with the BCCI. Now, ICC and BCCI had been feuding over this issue for upwards of 2 years by this point. BCCI going from volunteering to be the first to try out the system to now opposing it no matter the cost. From the lack of accuracy of ball tracking to how costly all the equipment was, both the cricketing giants had locked horn over this time and again in the last few years. But now, with the ICC succeeding in convincing all the dissenting boards, all of them had slowly started using their DRS. All of them, except India. India had now become the sole hope of all the cricketing traditionalists, many around the world putting their political weight behind the giant. But with the ICC Cricketing Committee unanimously recommending the use of DRS, not just in tests, but in ODIs and T20 too. This upcoming annual meeting in Hong Kong was sure to be a flashpoint. The entire world seemingly ganging up on BCCI, while the BCCI pushed back by saying, "We will oppose it no matter what." So basically, battle lines had been drawn. Both parties now ready to go to war. Hence, nobody was going to antagonize the other over the issue of an umpire spat. In its place, the lack of accuracy of umpiring was used by the media to further ICC's argument for the DRS, moving the discussion from the media directly into the boardrooms in a 2-day long political tug of rope through doublespeak that only politicians can understand and negotiations that would make an onion cry. Both sides made their stand clear. ICC wanted some sort of a breakthrough, while India, they would not move on the inaccuracies of the ball tracking technology. In other words, everything else was negotiable. Here was the thing. Everybody knew by this point, DRS was the future. As many sports around the world had already done, technology had to be introduced in the game. The question was, how? And hence came the compromise. BCCI would agree to the mandatory use of DRS in all international matches, but without the use of Hawkeye ball tracker, while ICC would convert the issue of ball tracking into a bilateral one to be managed by the individual boards involved. Now, this compromise wasn't going to be an easy sell on either side. The ICC now had to convince all the individual boards why India was getting special treatment, while BCCI now had to convince scores of cricketing traditionalists on why they had suddenly changed their stance. So, both the boards would suddenly find themselves under a lot of pressure. The compromise receiving heavy flack from both the sides of the aisle, many predicting that the pressure would prove too much, that soon one side would give. And things might have gone to that point too, if not for the variable, the second test of that India-West Indies test series. Fidel Edwards' last ball and Dhoni at the crease. A routine ball that stops a bit, Dhoni goes after it hard, miscues, and a catch. Dhoni turns and starts walking back towards the pavilion when umpire Gould asks him to stay. The third umpire is checking a no ball, but the result is as conclusive as they come. Edwards is in, Dhoni is out, and India is soon to collapse for just 201 runs. All in all, just another day at the office. Till a report came out. That replay on which Dhoni had been given out, that was of a previous ball. That ball in question was, as suspected, a no ball. Now in isolation, this could be written off as just another gaffle, but the timing of this was such, smack dab in the middle of a contentious DRS debate, that this fault in technology was quickly converted into a full-blown controversy. Both sides desperately wanting to use this to prove their point. The ICC having to make the first defense, stating that the third umpire was not at fault. He didn't choose the replays, he just reacted to them. So the umpire and by extension the ICC had nothing to do with this. So then who chose the clips? Well, that was the job of the back-end broadcasting team that was actually covering the match. And hence, the actual broadcasting company would have to come out and explain the situation. The story going something like this. Broadcasters around the world use a system called EVS for their video feeds. EVS, that's Ecriture Video Simulation, is a system used for creation, editing, exchange and playout of all audio-video feeds. The same video feeds that are relayed in real time in your houses and used by the umpires for their reviews. Because of the quick response time required under tremendous amount of pressure, it needs to be handled with experienced hands. In this case though, the senior analyst in charge had to take a sudden leave of absence, leaving a rookie in his place. A rookie who had then messed up. And though the match referee Broad tried to write it off by saying, it was an honest mistake, we have to now put it behind us and move on. How could anyone leave such a tantalizing morsel? So the anti-DRS faction quickly attacked that why was that rookie still doing that job? Well, it is a job that requires specific expertise, an area where replacement is not that easily found. So then what's to say that such a mistake won't happen again? More importantly, now with cricket being played around the world under the management of different broadcasting companies, what's to say that all of them will have the same level of competence? So aren't you just taking out the umpire's human error and replacing it with the technicians? Exchanging the so-called umpire's imagination with an analyst's? Now, none of these objections were wrong or new for that matter. It had always been a point of contention that ICC couldn't take out the human error part in what was supposed to be a foolproof system. But now, everybody was quick to pile on this weakness, seemingly wanting to use this to take back the compromise. But that was when they were hit by a blinder. ICC, who had mostly remained silent on this topic till now, letting the match officials on ground handle the mess. They quickly released a statement. If this series had the decision review system, an ICC official would have been present to monitor the broadcast. Yes, long before the series took place, a DRS rule had been made that one ICC official had to be present whose sole job, whose only job was to monitor the video feed. And by choosing not to use the full measure of the DRS, they had in effect overruled this safeguard, meaning the human error that had seeped through, that was not because of the system, but by the lack of it. And this counterpunch seemed to have done the trick. Clean punch at the heart of the matter had seemed to pull the wind right out of the opponent's sails. The discontent on the Indian side calming down a bit, finally giving both the boards some room to breathe. And though the opposition would be back soon, this calm would just be enough to allow the England tour to go through. The England tour where for the first time India would play a bilateral tour under mandatory DRS. And that proved to be the first brick. The first brick to fall in a long-standing wall. Now by no means was it smooth sailing after this. The pendulum would swing back and forth many times over the next few years. Both the ICC and the BCCI shifting their positions back and forth. But this series would become the first step to increase the support for DRS among Indian fans. Support that would slowly and gradually grow to the point that by this year, that is 2023, BCCI would allow the full version of DRS to be used, even in Ranji Trophy matches, bringing an end to an issue that had embroiled world cricket for nearly a decade and a half. Review today has become as much as a part of cricket as Duckworth Lewis is. Everybody hates it when it goes against us. Nobody knows what it will do the next moment. But in the end, mostly everybody agrees it makes cricket better. So this was the story of the replay. A replay who through no fault of its own became the site of a war, but which in the end became pivotal in giving the world DRS. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I genuinely hope you have a good day. Thank you.